Tractate Beitzah, page 35b, top of the page, with the words Chatzar Le'apoke Midarabi Yaakov, etc. In addition, it was necessary for Rabbi Yochanan to teach the law that a courtyard does not establish fruit for tithes unless its work is completed, to exclude the opinion of Rabbi Yaakov, as we learn in a Mishnah. One who was transporting figs in his courtyard to make them into dried figs, his children and the members of his household may eat from them in a casual manner, and they are exempt from tithes. And a Beitzah is taught in that regard. Rabbi Yaakov obligates him, and Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, exempts him. With regard to the law, that the separation of Truma does not establish fruit as fixed for tithes, this comes to exclude the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. As we learn in the Mishnah, fruits from which Truma had been separated before their work was completed, Rabbi Eliezer prohibits eating from them in a casual manner, and the rabbis permit it. With regard to the statement that a transaction does not fix fruit for tithes, this is, as we learn in a Beitzah, in the case of one who acquires figs from an Am Haaretz, in a place where most people press and dry their figs in order to make them into cakes. The work of the figs is not completed before this stage, and he may therefore partake of them in a casual manner. And when their work is completed, he need only tithe them as doubtfully tithed produce, in accordance with the law with regard to all produce bought from an uneducated person. The Gemara comments, one can learn from this Beitzah 3 halachot. Learn from here that a transaction establishes produce is fixed only with regard to an item whose work is completed. But if its work has not been completed, even selling it does not obligate it in its tithes. And learn from here that most people who are in the category of Am Haaretz separate tithes, and therefore one need only separate tithes as doubtfully tithed produce, rather than definitively untithed produce. And one can learn from here another law. One may tithe doubtfully tithed produce, purchased from an Am Haaretz, even with regard to something whose work is not completed. Rabbi Yochanan rules in accordance with this opinion to exclude that which we learned in the Mishnah, one who exchanges fruits with his friend, which is considered a commercial transaction, if their intention was for this one to eat and that one to eat, or for this one to make them into dried fruit, and for that one to make them into dried fruit, this one to eat, and that one to make them into dried fruit, they are both obligated in tithes. Rabbi Yehuda, however, says the one who took the fruits in order to eat is obligated. As for him, their labor is completed. But the one who intended to make them into dried fruit is exempt and may partake of the fruit in a casual manner. As for him, their work has not yet been completed. Rabbi Yochanan rules in opposition to the first Tana. He maintains that the transaction itself does not make the fruit liable to tithes unless its work has been completed. Hadron Allah Hamevi. We finished the third parak, I believe, of Beitzah. We're moving on to the last parak, seems like. Yeah, it must be, right? I think so. In any case, Mashilin, a new parak, new Mishnah says Mashilin Peros Derech Aruba B'Yom Tov. One may lower produce. Well, let's check that out. Let's verify it. So here, tractate, the wonders of the information age. Oh, there's 5 chapters. I could have been wrong. See, I'm glad I checked. Let's see. This is interesting. The tractate consists of 5 chapters, with a total of 42 Mishnayot. It's the 5th chapter. It's the last one, but it's the 5th one, not the 4th. The first one is Beitzah. Second one is Yom Tov. Ein Sadin, Hamevi, and Mashilin. So now we're entering the 5th. 5 chapters. There's 42 Mishnahs in it. Okay. All right, we're starting the 5th chapter. Meshilin Peros Derech Aruba B'Yom Tov. One may lower produce which had been laid out on a roof to dry into the house through a skylight on a festival in order to prevent it from becoming ruined in the rain. Although it is a strenuous activity, it is permitted to do so on a festival in order to prevent financial loss. However, one may not do so on Shabbat, and one may cover produce inside a building with cloths to prevent damage due to a leak in the ceiling over it, and similarly one may cover jugs of wine and jugs of oil for the same reason. And one may place a vessel beneath a leak in order to catch the water on Shabbat to prevent it from dirtying the house. Very nice. Mishnah. Mishnah Torah. תקי גדול שבת מחזור או שהיא לא יחזור תקי שבת מחזור או שהיא לא יחזור. All right, we're starting the Talmud. Gemara says, the Gemara discusses the first word of the Mishnah from a linguistic standpoint. It was said Rav Yehuda and Rav Natan recited different versions of the Mishnah's opening word, which is in all versions a verb meaning lower. Mashilin. Let's check out that gematria. What's Mashilin? Mashilin. 440. It's like nafshi. Nafshi, nafshi, nafshi. Na 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 na. Okay, so Bekitzer Meister, Yehuda, to lower. One of them taught Mashilin as in the text of the Mishnah, and the other one taught Mashhilin. Mashilin, and one Mashhilin. Okay, slight variance there. Okay? Mar Zutra said, the one who teaches Mashilin is not mistaken, and the one who teaches Mashhilin is not mistaken, as support can be found for both versions. He elaborates, the one who teaches Mashilin is not mistaken, as it is written, for your olives will fall, ye shall. Deuteronomy 28:40. Mashilin would therefore mean cause to fall. And he who teaches Mashhilin, okay? It's either Mashhilin or Mashchilin. Right. He who teaches Mashchilin is not mistaken, as we learn in the following cases in a Mishnah. Endless blemishes that invalidate animal for sacrifice, the shachul, and the kasul. The Mishnah explains shachul is referring to an animal whose thigh is dislocated. In other words, it has slipped out of place. Kasul is referring to an animal, one whose thigh is higher than the other. This shows that the root, shin ches lamed, is referring to something that has slipped down from its place. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said that there are other possible variations of this word as well. One who teaches mashirin is not mistaken, and one who teaches mashchirin is not mistaken, and one who teaches manshirin is not mistaken. He elaborates. One who teaches mashirin is not mistaken, as we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Shmuel says an Nazarite may not wash the hair of his head with clay as a kind of shampoo because it causes hair to fall off. Mashir. And the Nazarite is prohibited to remove the hairs of his head. This shows that mashir indicates causing something to fall. And one who teaches mashirin is also not mistaken, as we learned in the Mishnah. The shechor, a type of razor, and a barber's scissors, even if their blades are detached, are subject to ritual impurity. The fact that a razor is called shechor implies that the root, shin, ches, resh, indicates causing to fall down. Anyone who teaches man shirin is not mistaken either, as we learned in the Mishnah. One whose clothes fell down into water on Shabbat may continue to walk in them while they dry of their own accord, and he need not be concerned at the principle that one might suspect him of having washed it on Shabbat. Alternatively, another support can be found from that which we learned in the following Mishnah. What is gleaning, leket, which must be left for the poor, as commanded in Leviticus 19:9, which falls during reaping? These sources show that the root nun shin resh means to fall down, and man shirin would consequently mean to cause to fall down. The Gemara discusses the halacha in the Mishnah. We learn that one may lower produce through the skylight on a festival. The Gemara asks, up to how much produce may be lowered in this manner? At what point is it considered to be too strenuous an activity to be performed on the festival? Zer said, that Rav Ashi said. And some say that Rav Asi said, that Rabbi Yochanan said. It is like that which we learned in the Mishnah with regard to a different case. One may clear out 4 or 5 sacks of hay or grain from a room on Shabbat due to visitors, to clear a place for them to sit, or due to suspension of study in the study hall. In other words, to make room there for more people who would not be able to study Torah otherwise. Here too, only 4 or 5 sacks worth of produce may be lowered from the ruhu. Okay, very nice. The Gemara raises an objection to the comparison of the two cases. But perhaps there is difference, since there is a manner of preventing suspension of study in the study hall, or providing hospitality to guests. In other words, moving these items is permitted in order to facilitate a mitzvah. But here, where there is no suspension of study in the study hall, there's no facilitation of any mitzvah. They did not permit one to move such a large amount. Alternatively, this is the reasoning that 4 or 5 sacks are permitted, because Shabbat is severe in people's eyes, and they will not come to belittle it. But on a festival, which is regarded more lightly, and which people might come to belittle, one may not move the items at all. Alternatively, a claim may be made from the other perspective. There is this reasoning that is permitted to carry only 4 or 5 sacks because there is no monetary loss involved. But here, where there is monetary loss and the produce is not moved, one may carry even a larger amount than 4 or 5 sacks.